So, hello world out there and trumpet players who want to make playing the trumpet easier, because heaven knows it's enough of a challenge as it is. Okay, so I posted the other video to try and get people in the groove of the fact that the air pressure is what drives the trumpet, despite the fact that many people think other things are super important, whereas they're actually only quite small. But for the people who aren't into the science and the technical thing, they just want some exercises to practice. And so that's what this video is about. You don't have to understand what's behind it, you just have to do it, and within a few days you'll see the improvement. So this exercise I call the L exercise. And we start off playing bottom C, pretty well softly as we can. And we blow a little bit more, let the lips relax if we have to, till we can just hear the note being louder than before. And just note how much more blowing we had to do that. So from soft to just noticeably louder. Okay, then we're going to hold that soft feeling but put that same increase of air into it, and the note is going to go up to the next harmonic, but instead of getting louder it'll go up and stay relatively soft. So the point of this exercise is that you don't need to make your lips smaller to play higher. It's a subtle but important distinction. You just have to leave them alone and apply more air pressure. If you want the same note to get louder, you have to relax, and as you apply more air pressure, it'll lead to more flow, a louder note, instead of the note going up. And that's a tricky thing about learning to play the trumpet. The air pressure is doing several things at the one time, determining the onset pitch, and it's determining how loud the note is or whether the note is going up to another one. And every note we play is somewhere on that spectrum. Okay, so once you can do two, soft loud, soft high, then we try for three, soft, a little, just noticeably louder again, and just remember what that amount of air increase feels like. And that same amount of air increase, when applied to lips that are staying put, will enable you to go up three harmonics. It's just lucky that the maths of those two separate things are almost identical. And then once you get the hang of that, you just keep practicing. So we can do four. And that same amount of air increase is enough to go up playing soft notes. And we can do five. And we can do six. And seven. So the idea here is that you can learn to play the high notes by playing the low notes that you can already play with air control. So pretty well, if you can't make 7 levels of volume on a bottom C, you haven't got enough raw air power to play even a quiet high C, talking nothing about how much strength you may or may not have in your face. But for my money, that's the first thing to start to develop. if you get to the point where you can play 7 noticeable levels of volume on a bottom C, then you know your raw air power is not the problem, okay? And then you just have to work on that exercise a little bit more till this gets used to staying put, okay? Basically, the secret to playing the high notes easily is to have the same kind of lips that you do when you play quietly, but blowing a hurricane through them. And so that takes a little bit of effort, okay? Because the natural tendency is the more you blow, the more the lips will want to open up and the note gets louder instead of going up. And you can combine that as a warm-up on each of the harmonics. So you might do 2 on C, 3 on B, 4 on B flat, and so on like this. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 'and now we've got the same thing as we'd have on double C if we were doing that. And you can do that coming upwards if you want. 'Okay, so pretty well there, without using a whole lot of air quantity, but air pressure, we can get to the high C quite easily. Play it, you know, without it being drumming. And then once you've got that and you realise how little it takes, then you can work on playing those high notes a little bit louder. So we can develop the L exercise so that we go up to the next note at the minimum volume, a bit like the stall speed of an aeroplane, but then we stay there, apply more air while relaxing lips so we can go a bit louder. So there's 3 levels of volume, but we're now going to go C to G and then a louder G. And so in that way you can develop the strength on the notes. So there's 5 levels of volume. Now let's go up to C and we can play that 2 times beyond minimum volume. And any variations on that you want to make. So basically every note you're going to play is somewhere on that spectrum, okay, from the absolute minimum, okay, to just make the note sound, to being on that level and putting more flow through it. The easiest way to think about it, a bit of a simplification, is that the pressure determines the pitch, but the flow at that pressure determines the volume. But all that is being driven by raw air power, which then calls into question, how is it we breathe in, how do we power the air out, and that's a subject for some other videos. But if you just practice this simple L exercise, it's something a 7-year-old kid can understand. In just a few weeks, you're going to see those high notes just come without being any drama at all. Okay, enjoy.